Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. My name is Seid. I'm founder of Cascadia Workshops, and I'm a CNVC certified trainer. First, I'd like to do a sound check. So if you can hear me, send us a little message. I've got my good friend and business partner here, Joshua Hale, checking messages. And do drop us a line saying where you are listening in from. I know people registered from all over the world. Some people will be listening to the recording. But do drop us a line. I want to make sure you can hear me, and I'd love to know where you're watching from. So I'd like to first frame the problem and why we're here. I offered you this class on the most overlooked secret to preventing and resolving conflict. One of the things that happens is we make these simple mistakes. There are certain things that we either don't have the skills for or that we're not aware are happening. And they're old patterns. And I want to give you a few little insights that can make a huge difference in your communication and in your relationships. Like I said, my name is Seid. I began studying this process called nonviolent communication with Dr. Marshall Rosenberg starting in 1995. He called it nonviolent communication because he wanted to align himself with Gandhi's movement of truth-telling and compassion. They had actual words for what they meant in Hindi, and in English we translated it into nonviolence. So it's about truth-telling and compassion, how to speak your truth in a way that's most likely to lead to harmony rather than conflict, and how to listen to what might otherwise feel like a verbal attack or blame, criticism, or a judgment, and how to hear the other person's needs and values so that you're able to be less defensive, stand in a more compassionate place, and be more likely to diffuse any kind of conflict that shows up. I've been a certified trainer in this process since 2003, and I've worked with individuals, couples, families, have produced dozens of online programs, I have downloadable courses, and produce my own live events as well. If you would like to work with me, contact me separately. And at the end of this very short presentation, I'm going to tell you about a year-long program that I'm offering for people who want to deepen in their nonviolent communication skills. And it's for all levels, beginners as well as advanced. And we'll have one level of this class you can sign up for where you'll actually get a once-a-month practice group session so that you can get your skills up to speed faster. So sometimes we get stuck in a conversation. Even people with amazing communication skills get stuck in a conversation. And I want to describe one of the dynamics that happens. Imagine that you and I are talking and there's a tube between us, a clear plastic tube or like a poster tube. And so there's this tube of communication between you and me. And let's say that you're trying to get your point across, so you're putting your bandana through the tube. So your bandana or your scarf is coming through the tube. But let's say I want to get my point across at the same time. So I'm going to put my scarf through the tube. What happens is the tube is clogged. I'm not able to get my point across. You're not able to get your point across. Neither one of us is getting what we want. We're not getting heard. So one of the insights is I can take my scarf or my perspective, the thing I wanted to say, and I can put it aside for a moment. I'm not suppressing it. I'm not repressing it. I'm not denying it in any way. I'm just putting it here for the moment in order to allow your message to come through. Once your bandana has come through or your scarf has come through, I can confirm, is it green? And you can say, yeah, green. So now message sent and message received are the same. Now the tube is clear. Now I can take the point I wanted to make and put it through the tube. And like that, there's a certain element of taking turns that allows your message to get through to me and my message to get through to you. And often we will get stuck when we're both trying to get heard at the same time. So one of the key skills is noticing when we're both wanting to get heard at the same time and neither one of us is getting it. So one of the tendencies that happens when these disconnects occur is that we'll jump to fix it. We jump to a solution, we jump to a strategy, we jump to somehow resolve it. So this can happen in any conversation in which there's a disconnect. So it can happen in the workplace. Somebody says, fine, boss, I will take on that extra project, without there being any connection first. Or somebody says to their child, oh, don't worry, honey, don't worry, daddy will buy you a new one. And we jump to fix it. So often we jump to a strategy, jump to a solution prematurely before there is connection. So the insight that I want to give you here is connection before fixing and before resolving. This happens in organizations so often. Somebody brings a proposal, somebody in a position of structural power brings a proposal, and they kind of steamroll everybody, or they force it through. And then they wonder why people are dragging their feet, why there is resistance, why people seem to be undermining it. 90% of the time, in my experience, it's that people's voices were not heard at the beginning. So the principle here is go slow to go fast. Take the time to surface everybody's needs, values, concerns with regard to the situation. Once people actually feel heard, it's much more likely that the proposal will move forward with everybody on board. And if you're hearing concerns that you hadn't thought of, there are legitimate concerns, legitimate needs in the way, the proposal can be modified until you have a proposal on the table where there are no more concerns. Integrative decision making. So then we can move forward. What happens when you create connection first before solving is that now you know what everybody's needs are. Then you can craft a strategy or a solution that addresses everybody's needs. So then problem solving becomes collaborative. Your solutions are more durable. And you have buy-in from everybody involved. So now you have a team pulling in the same direction versus a boss or a supervisor, or somebody in a position of power imposing their solution and finding that not everybody is on board. So slow down, surface the needs, the values, the concerns, and then work toward a strategy or a solution that works for everybody. Years and years ago, almost 20 years ago, the mother of my children and I were having some relationship friction, I guess you could call it. And we met with Marshall Rosenberg. We had a private couple session with him. And he basically said one thing to us. He said, stay connected at the level of needs, at the level of feelings and needs, as long as it takes before you go to a strategy. And that was, initially I walked away thinking, gosh, I really wanted some more from him. But later, over the months and years that followed, I really saw the deep wisdom of what he was sharing. And he was saying, stay connected at the level of the heart, at the level of feelings and needs. And once you have everybody's needs on the table, then whatever strategy or solution you craft, you can at least take everybody's needs into account. If you go to fix it and solve before having everyone's needs on the table, you're not really sure whether your solution is addressing everybody's needs and concerns. So imagine that I get home today at the end of the day and my partner meets me at the door and she's dressed really nicely and she says, surprise, I got us a babysitter so that we could go out to dinner and watch a movie. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm so tired. I had a long day and I just want to lay on the couch for 2 hours. It appears that there's a conflict. On the surface level, there is a conflict. She wants to go out to dinner and see a movie. I want to lay on the couch and not talk to anybody. So what we can do, the opportunity there, is to get curious. If we went out to dinner and saw a movie, what would that do for you? What would you have then? And let's say I get curious and I ask her these questions. So maybe what that would do for her is a sense of fun, connection, a change of environment. I can relate to all those things. And then maybe she gets curious with me and she says, what's in it for you to lay on the couch for a couple hours? What would that do for you? Or what would you have? Or what would that give you that you currently don't have? Notice these questions are part of an exercise I call peeling the layers of the onion. So going deeper and deeper toward the universal human needs. So then we find that my idea of laying on the couch was all in service of self-nurturing and self-care and rest, relaxation, rejuvenation. So once we have all those needs on the table, now we can get creative about the solution or the strategy. So maybe she says, hey, how about if we send the babysitter off with the kids, we order takeout and watch a movie at home, right? That's one possibility. Or what if you lay on the couch for an hour and then we go out to dinner and see a movie? Would that work? So again, once you have the needs on the table, once you've surfaced what's important to each person at a deeper level, then you can explore strategies where everybody's needs can get met. Because here's what happens. The conflicts always happen at the level of strategy. Go out to eat, don't go out to eat, lay on the couch. So that's the strategy. But the deeper level around downtime, relaxation, fun, connection, we all share all those needs. So that's not where the conflict lies. So we need to surface the deeper needs and then adjust the strategies. This is a crucial distinction in this work, and I'll give you an example that I like very much. I have a universal human need for safety and protection. It's universal because all human beings have this need for safety and protection. My strategy might be that I go out and I get to know all my neighbors. So going out and getting to know all my neighbors contributes to my need for safety and protection. One of my neighbors has the same need, safety and protection, but they go out and they buy an assault rifle. It's the same set of needs, safety and protection, but totally different strategies. And when my neighbor's child hurts himself playing with daddy's gun, I guarantee you my neighbor's need for safety and protection is not met. So again, for any set of needs, there could be 100 strategies or 10,000 strategies. So it behooves us to slow down, surface the needs, and then craft the strategies that we think are going to meet the most needs. Now, there are two pieces here that are going to be valuable when we begin to have this kind of conversation. Next week, I'll do part 2 of this seminar, which is precisely on how to sustain a difficult conversation, how to make it through a difficult or challenging conversation until we get to the other side, where we're more connected, there's a more mutual understanding, and there's a sense of being able to find a resolution. Most of the people I ask in my workshops have had the experience of having a difficult conversation and getting to the other side to where there's more connection and more mutual understanding. I've been able to do that consistently because now I have specific tools and I've developed the skills for how to do that, and I want to give the same to you. In these short 30-minute webinars, I could give you some principles and some specific tools to practice, and it's going to be so different than when we have a consistent monthly or twice a month call where I can give you more tools and coach you over the course of a year. So definitely consider that if you're wanting more support or if you're wanting to go deeper with these tools to be able to put them into practice consistently. So when you and I are having this back and forth conversation, there are 3 areas where each of us can put our attention. One area is honesty or authentic self-expression. It's me speaking my truth. That's one area where I can put my attention, is how am I expressing what's happening for me. Another area where I can put my attention is in how I'm listening. How present am I to you? How present am I to what you're saying at a deeper level? For example, the person I'm listening to, they might say, the other day you lied to me. I may not know what they're talking about, but they accuse me of lying. What I hear at a deeper level when I engage my empathic listening is not anything about me. I'm hearing their deeper needs and values. In other words, this person values honesty or they value integrity. And if I get curious, I can learn more. I can demonstrate my care and I can diffuse the situation and clarify what my experience was and that kind of thing. So far we have expressing, we have listening, and then there's a third area where we can put our attention, which is our own connection with ourselves. This area of self-connection, of self-awareness, of connection with my own power and what's true for me, is both a limiting factor and a supportive factor for the other two. For example, if I don't even know what's going on for me, how truly honest and genuine can I be with you? So the more self-connected I am, the deeper and clearer my honest self-expression will be. If I'm trying to be present to you and listen to you, and I've got the emotional whirlwind going on inside, I've got the liquid blender happening, it's going to impact how present I am to you. So if I can connect with myself, resolve these things, allow them to settle, get connected again, now I can be way more present with you. So this area of self-connection is a limiting factor in both the honest self-expression and in the empathic listening, or it's a supportive factor, depending on how I'm handling it. So I wanted to highlight these two pieces, the listening side of listening to understand, not listening to respond. Notice over the course of the next week, here's some homework for you. Notice how often you're listening to respond rather than listening to understand. And on the speaking side, how do I speak what's true for me in a way that I'm owning it? I'm not blaming anybody else. I'm not putting somebody in a box or criticizing or judging them. I am being clear about what I'm observing and what's happening for me in my interior world. What am I feeling and what's important to me? And I can conclude with a very clear request. And these are some of the elements of the model of nonviolent communication, or NVC. A clear observation, a feeling, a need or a value, something that's deeply important to me, and then a request. What am I wanting back in this moment about that? In my courses, workshops, in the upcoming year-long course, these are things that we practice and we look at our old patterns and what are the things holding us back, and what are the things keeping us from expressing our truth in a way that's most likely to be heard compassionately. So I see two tendencies. One, the people who have already kind of given up on having harmony in their relationships, and they just speak up. Maybe it's gruffly or roughly, and they've just accepted, people are not going to like me, but I'm going to speak my truth anyway. That's a minority of people. Most people, I notice, actually hold back their truth. They limit their honesty. They limit their self-expression because they don't want to create a conflict. They don't want to ruffle feathers. They value harmony. And what nonviolent communication has given me is both my ability to speak my truth in a way that's most likely to elicit a compassionate response, and how to speak my truth in such a way that's most likely to lead to my own needs being met in a way that's in harmony with other people's needs. I used to be one of these people who valued harmony so much that I would hold back on my truth. And I noticed that was really hurting me at a deeper level, was to constantly hold back what was true for me. So now I have a way to have both. And it feels extremely, extremely empowering. Now people bring me into their conflicts. I have coaching clients all over the world. And sometimes what we work on is role plays with their interior voices, like a shame voice, for example. Or I have a role play coming up with a client where I'm doing an exercise between her and her mom. We're role playing. Her mother won't be there, but I'll be role playing the mother. Or we'll switch and she'll role play her mom and I'll role play her. And that way we'll get through some difficult conversations. And that's an example of a healing and reconciliation role play. So I do healing and reconciliation role plays, transformational role plays. And this is what I'm working, is these three areas: the self-connection, the honest self-expression, and the empathic listening. There isn't a formula or recipe per se. What these three areas represent are three different toolboxes where I have different tools that I use depending on what the situation is requiring. And I just want to remind you, there's a big difference between having a tool and being skillful with a tool. So looking at my notes real quick, just to recap, where we get stuck so often in conversations is when both people are wanting to get heard. And whether it's that or any other kind of disconnect, the pattern that so often happens is that we want to jump to a solution. We want to jump to fixing or solving before creating connection. And what I would recommend, and what I've learned from nonviolent communication, is create connection first, then go to problem solving. And even though it takes a little bit more time up front, I guarantee you it will save you so much time down the line. Think of how many things have happened on the basis of this disconnect or jumping to a solution or strategy, and then you had to do all the cleanup, or you had to figure out why didn't it work, and then so much time spent fixing or resolving or jumping to another strategy, and all the pain that has ensued from that with people who are disconnected or organizations that aren't working well together. It makes so much more sense, and I've been part of this process hundreds of times, if not thousands. It makes so much more sense to slow down, surface what's important for people first, and then, by all means, problem solve all day if that's what you want to do. At that point, it's collaborative. At that point, you're on the same team to come to a solution together. So I want to invite you one more time, and there should be a button coming up that you can click where you can go straight to the page where I describe the year-long program. This is September 5th, so Tuesday, September 5th, that's 2 weeks. This year-long training in nonviolent communication kicks off, and we'll have a different module per month, and there are 2 levels you can sign up as. There's a simple level, which is the learner level, and you get this 1 call a month where I share some content and then we open it up to question and answer. These are 2-hour calls, so much faster than this super fast webinar, much longer, much deeper. And of course, you'll get all the recordings and handouts. So at the learner level, there's just this 1 call a month, the first Tuesday of every month for a year. And I've broken down the curriculum into 12 modules. There's a deeper level, which is the practitioner level. And the practitioners in the program will get the first Tuesday call, but they'll also get the 3rd Tuesday, another call, where the entire call will be essentially practice time, question and answer, and coaching. So you have something that came up, you can ask a question, I can coach you, we can do a role play. And the idea is that we'll be doing some work in small groups in order to be able to go deeper and practice the tools so that we elevate our skillfulness with the tools. So I'd love to open it up to question and answer. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box. I'd love to spend a few minutes answering any questions that you have, either about what I covered today or about the upcoming year-long program. We're live right now, unless you're listening to the recording, but we're live right now, and I'd love to hear any questions that you have about the most overlooked insight to preventing and resolving conflicts, or about the year-long, the upcoming Black Belt Communication Skills year-long program. If you don't have questions, I'm just going to assume that everything was really clear. Thank you very much for coming. If you're listening to the recording and you have questions, feel free to email them to me, alan@cascadiaworkshops.com, CASCADIA, workshops, plural.com. In the program, is it all on telephone versus in person? Is there a difference in the benefits for each? Yeah, we'll be using the phone. We'll be using a phone line, although people can connect via their computer to get on it too. And somebody's asking about the info on the pricing. So if you click the link here, you can go to the page, the landing page, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll see the 2 different levels. You can do a one-time payment, or you can leave a deposit and do payments over time, whichever is easier or more affordable to you. So it'll be on the phone, and it will be live in person, but not in physical space. I am teaching a course in Bellingham, Washington that's physical in person, but this is an online program that's 12 months. So Jenny, you ask, is there a difference in the benefits for each, whether telephone or in person? And I'm not sure if that's what you mean, or if you mean the difference in benefits between the learner level and the practitioner level. The difference for the practitioners is they get an additional call a month that's focused on practice and getting their skills up. So that's one of the benefits for the practitioners. There are a couple things that I am throwing into the course as extra. So everyone at the learner level or the practitioner level is going to receive the recordings and transcriptions of the largest online event that I've produced, which had 1,700 attendees from over 40 countries, which is an interview series titled A Path with Heart on nonviolent communication and social change. So that's 25 interviews, 18 of them are transcribed, and I'm giving everybody that as a bonus, everybody who signs up for the program. Additionally, people at the practitioner level are going to get the videos, MP3s, and transcriptions of the Black Belt Communication Skills online program. This was the membership program that's now closed. And I want to tell you a little bit about what I did, because it's a little bit nuts. I took every single distinction, every differentiation, every process, every concept in nonviolent communication, and I wrote them on a separate Post-it note. Then I organized them on my wall in a flow that made sense, and each one of those Post-its became a standalone video. So I have all those videos, and you get the MP3s plus the transcriptions in a PDF for every distinction that I could think of, and I've been doing this work for over 20 years, every distinction that I could think of within nonviolent communication, so that you'll have that as an additional resource while we're going through the program together. Let's see. Yeah, so click the sign up button, which will take you to the landing page where you can find out everything about the program, including the pricing is at the bottom. You can just scroll straight to the bottom. So let's see, wondering if there are any other questions. The year-long program will include all the recordings. So if you're in the year-long program, you will be getting the recordings of all those calls as well. Plus handouts and other written material, of course. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions. So I'm going to check in with getting the thumbs up that we can conclude. I am doing part 2 in a week, and part 2 is more specifically the mechanics for how to sustain a difficult conversation. And to ask a question privately, just feel free to call or email, and we can do it that way. Okay, thank you so much.